Yo 200 hours, off the coast of Watsuri Island, East China Sea. The ocean is black ink under a moonless sky. Swells of dark water slap against the reinforced steel hulls of the amphibious assault vehicles. Inside the cramped troop compartments, red tactical lights bathe the Marines in a bloody glow. 30 men sit shoulder to shoulder, gripping their assault rifles. The engine hum is a low, vibrating drone that rattles teeth. The air smells of diesel fumes, wet rubber, and stale sweat. No one speaks. A young corporal checks his magazine for the third time. The vehicle lurches as the tracks bite into the shallow reef. The lead vehicle grinds onto the rocky shale of the beach. Hydraulic pumps whine as the heavy rear ramp begins to lower. Cold sea air rushes into the humid compartment, carrying the scent of salt and rotting vegetation. Boots stomp on metal grating. The first squad leader signals the advance. They splash into the knee-deep surf. The shoreline is jagged, filled with boulders and sharp scrub brush. The jungle ahead is a wall of darkness. Nothing moves in the tree line. It is too quiet. A single crack breaks the silence. A Marine in the point position jerks backward violently. His helmet flies off, spinning into the water. He collapses into the surf. Then the tree line erupts. Muzzle flashes sparkle like strobe lights from the dark vegetation. Thousands of bullets snap through the air, sparking off the wet rocks. The beach transforms instantly into a kill zone. Tracers zip through the darkness, angry red hornets seeking flesh. A machine gunner dives behind a slab of limestone. He slams his bipod down on the wet stone. He squeezes the trigger. His weapon roars, chewing up the thick brush ahead. Debris flies, leaves shred, branches snap. A sergeant screams orders over the deafening roar of combat. He grabs a wounded private by the vest and drags him behind the heavy treads of the assault vehicle. Blood sprays across the white foam of the waves, turning the surf dark. The enemy fire intensifies. It is precise, controlled. Heavy rounds punch through the aluminum plating of the landing craft, sending hot shrapnel pinging around the interior. A driver yells as glass from his viewport shatters inward. The platoon commander assesses the ridge. They are sitting ducks on the open shale. He keys his radio, shouting to be heard over the gunfire. He orders the assault vehicles to suppress the center target reference points, while Squad 2 attempts a hard flank toward the eastern cliffs. The turret on the lead vehicle spins rapidly. The automatic grenade launcher thumps rhythmically. Explosions blossom in the tree line, flashing orange and yellow against the night. Earth and rocks spray into the air. The suppressing fire forces the enemy heads down. Squad 2 sprints across the open gap, boots slipping on wet stones. They hurl smoke grenades. Thick gray clouds billow out, obscuring their movement. They reach the base of the cliff, chest heaving, weapons raised. The enemy fire slackens slightly but does not stop. A flare pops overhead, casting a swaying, ghostly light over the chaotic beachhead. The Marines have a toehold, but the water laps at the boots of the dead man in the surf. The sand is already stained. 0245 hours, inland scrub, Uatsuri Island. The jungle canopy blocks out the starlight completely. Visibility drops to near zero. The Marines move single file through the dense undergrowth. Vines snag on tactical vests and radio antennas. Boots sink into soft, rotting mulch. The air is thick, humid, and trapped. Heavy breathing echoes in the narrow ravine. The salty smell of the ocean is gone, replaced by the pungent odor of wet moss and insect repellent. The only light comes from the faint green glow of phosphor sights and the occasional sweep of a thermal monocular. The point man freezes. He raises a fist. The column halts instantly. The silence returns, heavy and oppressive. A twig snaps somewhere to the left. It is distinct, sharp. The point man scans the ground ahead. The earth is disturbed. Fresh dirt sits on top of old leaves. A patch of tall grass at the base of the limestone cliff looks unnatural. It is too flat, too perfectly arranged. He raises his rifle. The grass patch flies upward. A heavy steel barrel protrudes from the earth. A heavy machine gun opens fire from the spider hole. The muzzle flash is a blinding yellow fireball at ground level. The roar is deafening in the confined space. The lead squad is caught in the open. Heavy caliber rounds tear through the vegetation. Small trees shatter, sending jagged splinters flying like shrapnel. The bullets slam into the limestone cliff face behind the Marines. Rock pulverizes on impact. Stone fragments spray outward, cutting into exposed skin and tearing uniforms. A Marine takes a round to the shoulder plate. The impact spins him around. He crashes into a thorny bush. Another man drops, clutching his leg as blood pumps onto the dark soil. The ambush is L-shaped. Small arms fire erupts from the ridgeline above, crossing with the heavy gun below. The kill zone is saturated with lead. The Marines dive for cover behind fallen logs and shallow depressions. They return fire, weapons bucking in their hands. Brass casings spin into the air, flashing in the strobe light effect of the gunfire. A rocket streaks from the darkness. It hisses through the air. The warhead impacts the cliff face directly above the platoon. The explosion shakes the ground. A massive slab of limestone shears off. Boulders rain down on the pinned squad. Dust chokes the air, turning the ravine into a gray fog. The platoon sergeant crawls through the mud. He grabs the radio handset. He screams for the machine gun team to bring their weapon up. The gunner drags his heavy weapon over a root system. He props the barrel on a rotting log. He unleashes a stream of tracers into the spider hole. The red lines of light hammer the earth around the enemy position. Dirt sprays high into the air. The enemy gun pauses, suppressed for a heartbeat. "Frag out!" a corporal yells. He pulls the pin and hurls a grenade. It tumbles through the air. It lands near the tunnel entrance. The detonation is a dull thump that ripples through the ground. Smoke billows. The enemy fire does not stop. It shifts. A second machine gun opens up from the right flank. Crossfire. The bullets rip through the log concealing the sergeant. Wood chips fly into his face. The squad is pinned. They are trapped between the rock wall and a wall of fire. The wounded man screams for a medic. The cry is barely audible over the relentless hammering of the heavy guns. 3:30 hours. The ravine, base of the limestone cliffs. The air in the depression is unbreathable, choked with gray dust and the stinging bite of cordite. The strobe light flashing of the enemy machine guns continues relentlessly. Red tracers scour the top of the logs where the Marines shelter. Bark chips and dirt spray constantly, covering the huddled men in a layer of grime. The noise is a physical weight, a constant hammering that rattles the bones. A young private attempts to change a magazine. His hands shake violently. He drops the magazine into the mud. He scrabbles for it, fingers slipping in the wet slime. The lieutenant jams the radio handset against his ear, plugging his other ear to hear the transmission. He looks at the cliff face. It is too steep to climb. He looks back. The kill zone is impassable. They are fixed. He shouts into the microphone. He demands immediate fire support. He reads the grid coordinates off his wrist map. He pauses. He repeats the coordinates. The voice on the other end hesitates. The target is within 60 meters of their own position. "Danger close!" The lieutenant screams the confirmation. He throws the handset down and buries his face in the dirt. "Heads down, eat dirt!" he bellows. A high-pitched whistle cuts through the roar of gunfire. It sounds like tearing canvas. The first mortar round impacts. The world turns white. The ground heaves upward, throwing the prone Marines inches into the air. The concussion punches the breath out of their lungs. A massive geyser of black earth, rock, and shredded vegetation erupts just 50 yards ahead. The heat of the blast washes over the Marines like an opening oven door. 2 more rounds slam into the earth in rapid succession. Crump, crump. The shockwaves ripple through the ravine, knocking dead branches from the canopy above. The enemy machine gun fire cuts off instantly. The spider hole vanishes in a cloud of pulverized dirt and fire. A tree snaps at the trunk, toppling slowly into the crater. "Go, go, go!" the squad leader roars. He rises from the mud, spitting grit. Squad 3 surges forward while the debris is still falling. They sprint through the smoke, bayonets fixed. The air is thick with the smell of high explosives and burning wood. They leap over the crater lip. The ground is hot to the touch. Mangled equipment lies scattered in the hole. A twisted machine gun barrel smokes in the ruin. A dazed enemy soldier stumbles out of the secondary bunker, ears bleeding, rifle dragging in the dirt. The Point Marine does not hesitate. He fires 2 rounds. The soldier drops. The squad fans out, weapons sweeping left and right. They secure the crater rim. The ambush is broken. The Marines check their limbs for shrapnel. They are deafened, covered in soot and shaking, but they are alive. The path up the ridge is open. 4:15 hours, forward trench network halfway up the ridge. The Marines drop from the crater lip into the enemy earthworks. Boots splash into ankle-deep water mixed with clay. The trench is a narrow scar cut into the mountain, reinforced with wooden planks and sandbags. It smells of wet rot, unwashed bodies, and gun oil. The walls are high, blocking out the sky. It is a maze. The only way is forward. The point man raises a combat shotgun. He hugs the muddy wall. He reaches a sharp corner. He signals ready. The second man stacks up behind him, hand on the point man's shoulder. They breathe in unison. The point man pivots around the bend. A silhouette blocks the path. An enemy soldier stands 3 feet away, raising an assault rifle. The shotgun roars. The sound in the confined ditch is louder than thunder. The muzzle flash blinds everyone for a split second. The heavy buckshot slams into the enemy soldier's chest plate. The impact lifts him off his feet. He flies backward, crashing into the trench wall. His rifle clatters into the mud. "Clear right!" The point man shouts. He pumps the shotgun. A spent shell flies out, smoking. 2 more enemy soldiers burst from a dugout door on the left. The second Marine opens fire with his rifle. The bullets chew up the wooden door frame. Splinters spray into the soldiers' faces. They flinch. The Marines rush them. The distance is too short for aiming. It becomes a brawl. A Marine slams his shoulder into the first soldier. They grapple. They slam against the sandbags. The enemy soldier draws a knife. The blade flashes in the gloom. It slashes the Marine's forearm. Blood spurts. The Marine ignores the wound. He smashes his rifle stock into the soldier's jaw. Bone cracks. The soldier sags. The Marine drives his knee into the man's stomach and shoves him into the mud. The second enemy soldier lunges for a dropped weapon. A corporal steps on the rifle. He kicks the soldier in the chest. The soldier gasps, falling back. The corporal fires 2 rounds into the ground. The soldier stops moving. "Bunker ahead!" a sergeant yells. A heavy steel door sits at the end of the trench. Gun ports slide open. Muzzle flashes light up the dark corridor. Bullets snap past the Marines, striking the dirt walls. "Frag!" The sergeant pulls the pin on a fragmentation grenade. He holds the lever. He counts to 2. He hurls it underhand. The metal sphere skips across the mud. It rolls right against the steel door. Boom! The explosion blows the door inward. Smoke pours out. A Marine kicks the warped metal aside. He tosses a flashbang inside. A bright white flash illuminates the interior. A concussive bang follows instantly. The squad storms the room. Their weapon lights sweep the corners. 3 enemy combatants lie dazed on the floor, ears bleeding. The Marines kick weapons away and zip-tie wrists. The trench line is clear. The Marines lean against the muddy walls, chests heaving. They reload magazines with shaking hands. The ground is slick with red mud and spent casings. 500 hours. Captured trench line Alpha, Uatsuri Island. The sky turns a bruised purple as dawn approaches. Inside the captured ditch, Marines sit on ammo crates, wrapping gauze around bleeding limbs. The floor is a slurry of mud, blood, and spent brass. A radio operator whispers coordinates into a handset. The silence is heavy, filled only by the metallic click of fresh magazines sliding into mag wells. The air is cooling, but the smell of cordite hangs low and pungent. A low rumble begins deep in the earth. Pebbles dance on the lid of a metal ammo tin. A sergeant stops cleaning his rifle. He presses his ear to the dirt wall. The vibration grows louder. It is the sound of hundreds of boots hitting the ground in unison. A red flare arcs high into the sky, sizzling as it burns directly overhead. "Contact front!" a sentry screams. 3 rockets strike the trench lip simultaneously. The sandbag wall disintegrates. The blast wave throws 3 Marines across the narrow corridor like rag dolls. Dirt, burning burlap, and shrapnel rain down. Before the dust settles, the enemy attacks. A wave of heavy infantry crests the hill. They do not seek cover. They advance in a solid line, firing from the hip. Hundreds of muzzle flashes light up the twilight. The volume of fire is a physical force. It shreds the wooden supports of the trench roof. Planks splinter and collapse, burying a machine gun team. A Marine rises to fire. A heavy caliber round punches through his chest plate. He drops instantly. The platoon commander grabs the radio. He screams over the deafening roar of the onslaught. The position is untenable. Enemy squads are pouring over the flanks. He orders an immediate withdrawal to the secondary ridgeline. "Fall back! Move! Move!" The Marines abandon the heavy machine gun. They grab the wounded by their vest drag handles. They scramble up the slippery back wall of the trench, boots sliding in the mud. Bullets snap at their heels, kicking up sprays of dirt. The corporal turns to provide covering fire. He empties his magazine into the oncoming mass. A rocket explodes near his feet. He vanishes in a cloud of black smoke and red mist. The survivors sprint across the open scrub. They dive behind the jagged rocks of the lower ridge, lungs burning. They look back. The trench they just fought to secure is swarming with enemy troops. The enemy flag is already rising over the smoke. 4 or 5 hours, the Devil's Throat, a narrow limestone ravine. The retreat has left Squad 2 behind. Thick, pre-dawn mist clings to the valley floor, reducing the world to shades of gray and charcoal. The sounds of the main battle echo faintly in the distance, a dull rumble miles away. Here it is terrifyingly quiet. The air is cold and damp. 7 Marines lie in a tight circle among the boulders. They are an island in a sea of hostile territory. Their uniforms are torn, stained with black mud and dried blood. Breaths come in shallow, ragged hitches. A staff sergeant crawls between the men. He taps helmets. He holds up a single finger, then points to his rifle. 1 shot, 1 kill. He checks the ammo pouches of a wounded private. 2 magazines left. The radio operator shakes his head. He holds up the cut handset cord. The radio is dead weight. They are ghosted. A branch snaps to the north, then another to the south. The enemy is closing the net. Movement ripples through the ferns 30 yards out. A helmet rises slowly above a fallen log. The squad-designated marksman rests his rifle on a mossy rock. He exhales. He squeezes the trigger. Crack. The single shot echoes like a whip crack in the bowl of the ravine. The enemy helmet disappears. A wet thud follows. Silence returns for 3 seconds. Then the jungle screams. Automatic fire erupts from all 360 degrees. The enemy knows the Marines are trapped. Bullets chip away at the boulders protecting the squad. Stone fragments bite into faces. The Marines stay low, pressing their bodies into the wet earth. They do not return fire blindly. They wait. A whistle blows. Enemy soldiers surge from the mist, bayonets fixed, screaming war cries. They rush the perimeter from the east. "Targets!" the sergeant roars. The Marines pop up. They fire controlled pairs. Bang, 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 bang. The lead enemy attackers crumple, momentum carrying their bodies sliding into the defensive circle. A Marine shoots an enemy soldier at point-blank range. The force knocks the attacker backward over a tree root. "Reloading!" a corporal yells. He drops an empty magazine. He grabs his last full one. He jams it in. He slaps the bolt release. A grenade lands in the center of the circle. It spins in the mud. "Kick it!" A boot slams into the metal sphere. It flies back over the rock wall. Boom! The explosion shreds the ferns outside. A scream of pain follows. The enemy assault wave breaks. The survivors retreat into the mist, leaving their dead on the slope. The shooting stops as quickly as it started. The silence rushes back in, ringing in the Marines' ears. The sergeant checks his watch. He looks at his men. They are breathing hard, eyes wide, staring into the fog. They check their ejection ports. Brass glints in the low light. They are down to handguns and combat knives. They wait for the next whistle. 6:15 hours, airspace above the Devil's Throat. The sun crests the horizon, burning through the morning fog with harsh golden light. The visibility in the ravine snaps from 0 to crystal clear. The sudden light exposes the trapped Marine squad completely. They huddle against the wet rocks, combat knives drawn, pistols raised. 60 yards away, the enemy platoon rises from the ferns in unison. Their bayonets glint in the new sunlight. They do not shout this time. They advance with the grim certainty of executioners. The staff sergeant tightens his grip on his entrenching tool. The ground begins to vibrate. Not the march of boots this time. This vibration shakes the fillings in their teeth. A shadow sweeps across the valley floor, darker and faster than a cloud. 2 attack helicopters scream over the limestone ridge. They bank hard, noses dipping aggressively toward the ravine floor. The downwash hits the ground with hurricane force, flattening the tall grass and whipping the trees into a frenzy. Debris flies everywhere. The nose-mounted rotary cannons spin. The sound is not a gunshot. It is a mechanical tear in the atmosphere. Brrrt! The lead helicopter unleashes a stream of 30mm high explosive rounds. The ground where the enemy soldiers stand erupts. The heavy shells do not just wound, they obliterate. Torsos vaporize in clouds of red mist. Limbs detach and cartwheel through the air. The impact of the rounds churns the soil into a mixture of mud and biological matter. The enemy line disintegrates instantly. Soldiers running forward simply cease to exist, replaced by craters and smoke. The second helicopter flares wide, exposing its wing pylons. Smoke trails hiss from the rocket pods. A salvo of unguided rockets streaks into the tree line behind the enemy advance. Crump, crump, crump. The explosions walk up the hillside, shattering the limestone cliffs. Boulders the size of cars detach and tumble down, crushing the retreating survivors. Trees snap like matchsticks, falling in flames. The pilots pivot the aircraft. The cannons roar again, shorter bursts this time, mopping up resistance. The sound echoes off the canyon walls, deafening the Marines below. The remaining enemy forces drop their weapons and scramble into the dense undergrowth, fleeing the aerial slaughter. The lead helicopter hovers 50 feet above the squad. The pilot tilts the machine, the black helmet of the gunner visible through the canopy. The staff sergeant pops a green smoke grenade. The thick emerald cloud swirls in the rotor wash, marking their position as friendly. The Angel of Death holds its station, its cannon tracking the tree line, daring anything to move. The ravine is silent again, save for the whine of turbines and the crackle of burning brush. The kill zone is a smoking ruin. 700 hours, the spine, Central Ridge, Uatsuri Island. The sun is now high enough to bake the wet rock, raising steam from the damp earth. Thick walls of white phosphorus smoke drift across the steep incline, creating a ghostly, shifting artificial fog. The rhythmic thumping of the attack helicopters circling overhead provides a constant, reassuring baseline. The main body of the Marine Force stands in a long skirmish line at the base of the final ascent. Officers check watches. The retreating enemy has dug into the jagged peaks above, waiting. A sharp whistle cuts the air. 300 Marines step off simultaneously. They advance behind the rolling smoke screen, disappear into the white cloud. Boots crunch on loose shale. The incline is steep, 45 degrees of razor-sharp volcanic rock. The only sound is the shifting of gear and the heavy breathing of men climbing under load. A gust of wind thins the smoke near the summit. The enemy sees the movement. The ridgeline erupts. Hundreds of rifles fire downward. The bullets hiss through the smoke, snapping past ears and ricocheting off the hard ground. The Marines drop to the prone position. They return fire instantly. The mountainside crackles with thousands of rounds exchanging places. "Suppressive fire!" a sergeant screams. 10 machine gun teams unleash a torrent of lead at the ridge. The constant rat-a-tat-tat creates a wall of noise. Rock chips spray from the enemy positions. The volume of fire forces the enemy heads down. "Move! Up! Up!" Squads leapfrog forward. One team fires. The other sprints 10 yards up the slope. They dive behind boulders, sliding on the gravel. A Marine sniper lies flat on a rocky outcrop, his rifle barrel protruding through a gap in the stone. His spotter lies next to him, scanning with high-powered optics. "Target, 2 o'clock high, machine gun nest, range 400. The sniper exhales. He fires. On the ridge, an enemy gunner's head snaps back violently. A spray of pink mist hangs in the air for a second. The enemy gun goes silent. Good hit. Displace. The sniper team rolls away, moving to a new position before the enemy can pinpoint them. A shoulder-fired rocket streaks down from the peak. It impacts a group of Marines huddled behind a rock slab. The explosion throws 2 men down the hill, their bodies tumbling like rag dolls over the sharp stones. A medic rushes forward, sliding on his knees to reach them. He drags a wounded man by his collar, leaving a streak of bright red on the gray rock. The company commander keys his radio. He orders the mortar platoon to shift fire to the reverse slope to cut off the enemy retreat. He signals first platoon to hook right, using a jagged outcropping for cover. The maneuver elements sprint, utilizing the suppressed enemy's pause. The Marines are now within grenade range, dozens of arms cocked back. A volley of fragmentation grenades flies through the air, black specks against the blue sky. They land among the enemy rock piles. A series of sharp cracks follows. Dust and smoke billow up. The Marines fix bayonets. They rise and charge the final 20 yards. They crest the false summit, shouting. The enemy defenders break. Some surrender, dropping weapons. Others turn and run toward the cave entrances. The outer defense line is shattered. The path to the main bunker is open. 0800 hours, command bunker entrance, the summit face. The entrance to the Chinese command post sits embedded in the sheer granite wall. It is a fortress within a mountain, protected by 3 feet of reinforced concrete, and a blast door made of solid steel. The area in front of the bunker is a lunar landscape of craters and blackened rock. The air tastes of pulverized stone and bitter explosive residue. A squad of combat engineers crouches behind a pile of rubble 20 yards from the door. They check the wiring on their satchel charges. Their hands are steady, moving with practiced speed despite the chaos. A rectangular gun port slides open on the bunker's face. "Machine gun!" A Marine screams. A heavy barrel protrudes. It spits fire. A line of high-caliber bullets stitches across the rubble pile. Stone fragments explode like shrapnel. A Marine takes a graze to the helmet. The impact knocks him flat, his head ringing. He rolls over, dazed, staring at the sky. "Suppress it!" the platoon leader bellows. 2 Marine machine gun teams rise up. They pour a continuous stream of lead into the gun port. Sparks fly as bullets hammer the steel shutter. The enemy gunner flinches, unable to aim. "Engineers, go, go!" 3 engineers sprint from cover. They carry 30 pounds of C4 plastic explosives each. They dash across the open kill zone, boots pounding the scorched earth. Bullets snap around them, kicking up dust at their heels. They reach the blast door. They slam their bodies against the cold steel. The lead engineer slaps the adhesive charges directly onto the massive hinges. The second engineer places a cutting charge on the locking mechanism. The third engineer unspools the detonation cord, running it back toward safety. They work in a blur of motion. "Set! Moving!" They turn and sprint back. The enemy machine gun finds its rhythm again. A burst catches the last engineer in the leg. He falls, tumbling on the sharp rocks. A sergeant rushes out, grabs the man's vest, and drags him behind a concrete barrier. Just as the dirt erupts where his head was seconds ago. "Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole!" The squad leader squeezes the detonator, clacker. Boom! The explosion is not a sound, it is a physical blow. The overpressure wave ripples outward, compressing the chest. A massive cloud of black smoke and gray dust expands instantly, engulfing the mountainside. The 2-ton steel blast door tears free from the concrete. It cartwheels through the air like a discarded toy. It crashes down 50 feet away, crushing a boulder into powder. The concrete facade of the bunker cracks and crumbles, exposing the rebar skeleton. "Assault team, move!" Before the smoke clears, the stack of Marines charges. They rush into the gray cloud, weapons up. They step over the rubble of the entrance. The air inside the breach is hot and thick with dust. They enter the main airlock. The lights are out. Emergency red strobes pulse in the darkness. 2 enemy soldiers stumble out of the gloom, concussed and bleeding from the ears. The lead Marine fires 2 rounds into each. They drop. The Marines fan out, securing the airlock. They toss chemical light sticks onto the floor. The green glow illuminates a long, descending concrete tunnel. The throat of the enemy base is open. The fight is no longer about hills and sky. It is now a fight for a hole in the ground. 8:30 hours, Subterranean Command Complex, Level 1. The air inside the mountain is cold, recycled, and smells of ozone and stale sweat. Red emergency lights spin on the ceiling, casting long, disorienting shadows that dance against the gray concrete walls. The tunnel is narrow, forcing the Marines to move in a tight, single-file stack. The silence here is pressurized. The heavy breathing of the men echoes loudly, amplified by the acoustics of the confined space. Water drips from a pipe overhead, hitting a puddle with a rhythmic plink. The point man raises his fist. He stops at a T-junction. A shadow lengthens on the wall around the corner. "Contact left," he whispers. A burst of automatic fire erupts from the darkness. The sound in the enclosed tunnel is physical agony. It is not a noise. It is a concussion that slams into the eardrums. The muzzle flash from the enemy rifle illuminates the corridor like a lightning bolt. Bullets spark off the concrete walls, whining as they ricochet wildly down the hall. "Shield up!" the squad leader roars. A Marine with a heavy ballistic shield pushes to the front. He plants his boots. Clang, clang, clang. Bullets hammer the viewport of the shield, scarring the reinforced glass. The Marine grunts under the impact but holds his ground. He advances slowly, a moving wall of steel. Behind him, a rifleman leans out. He rests his barrel on the shield's edge. He fires 3 rapid shots. The enemy gunman drops, his weapon clattering on the cement floor. "Moving!" The squad surges past the body. They reach a heavy steel door marked with Chinese characters. A Marine kicks it. Locked. "Breacher!" A Marine steps up with a tactical shotgun. He jams the muzzle into the door hinges. Boom! Boom! The hinges disintegrate. He kicks the door. It swings open. A flashbang grenade goes in first. Bang! A blinding white light floods the room, followed instantly by a stunning shockwave. The Marines storm the room. It is a server farm. Rows of black computer towers hum. Enemy officers are frantically smashing hard drives with rifle butts. They spin around, raising sidearms. "Drop it!" A pistol fires. A round hits a Marine in the chest rig, knocking the wind out of him. The Marine behind him fires a controlled double tap. The officer falls backward into a server rack. Sparks shower down as the equipment shorts out. The remaining officers freeze. They look at the laser dots dancing on their chests. They slowly lower their weapons. The room is filled with the smell of burnt electronics and cordite. Monitors flicker and die. The squad leader checks the wounded Marine. The ceramic plate held. The Marine gasps for air, bruising spreading across his ribs, but nods. I'm good. The complex is clearing. The sound of distant gunshots from the lower levels fades. The heart of the enemy intel network is secure. 9:30 hours, the summit of Watsuri Island. The guns are silent. The wind whips across the jagged peak, carrying away the lingering white smoke of the battle. The sun beats down on the scorched rocks, baking the mud and blood into a dark crust. The only sounds are the rhythmic thump, thump, thump of medevac helicopters idling on the lower plateau, and the groans of the wounded waiting for transport. The air smells of ozone, burning diesel, and the metallic tang of opened wounds. A team of Marines emerges from the ruined bunker entrance. Their faces are blackened with soot. Their uniforms are torn and stiff with dried sweat. They blink in the harsh daylight, eyes adjusting from the darkness of the tunnels. A corporal unstraps a folded nylon bundle from his pack. He climbs the highest jagged spire of the limestone ridge. His boots slip on the loose shale. He reaches the top. He jams a collapsible pole into a fissure in the rock. He unfolds the stars and stripes. The wind catches the fabric immediately. It snaps loudly, unfurling against the backdrop of the clear blue sky. Below the peak, The remnants of the Chinese garrison sit in rows on the flat ground. Their helmets are off. Their hands are zip-tied behind their backs. They stare at the ground, exhausted, uniforms shredded. Marine guards stand over them, weapons at the low ready, watching for any sudden movement. The casualty collection point is a hive of controlled chaos. Navy corpsmen move rapidly between stretchers. They kneel in the dirt, hands slippery with blood. One medic plunges a needle into a Marine's arm to start a saline line. He rips open a packet of clotting gauze with his teeth. He packs a deep shrapnel wound in a thigh. The wounded Marine grits his teeth, gripping the side of the litter until his knuckles turn white. He does not scream. "Bird inbound! Pop smoke!" a radio operator yells. A purple smoke grenade hisses, marking the landing zone. A transport helicopter banks hard, flaring its nose to slow down. Dust swirls up, coating the wounded and the prisoners alike. The rear ramp drops. Marines grab the handles of the stretchers. They run into the rotor wash, heads ducked low. They slide the wounded into the cargo bay. The platoon commander walks to the edge of the cliff. He looks out over the East China Sea. The horizon is filled with gray steel. American destroyers and carriers dominate the water, their wakes cutting white scars across the blue ocean. He raises a radio handset. He reports the island secure. The flag snaps again in the wind. The summit belongs to the Marines.